Welcome into the Cougar Tailgate, where BYU fandom lives. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
What's up, everyone? I'm so happy to be with you all today. Later in the show, we're going to be talking to one of my great friends and Wonder Woman, Chelsea Fairbourn. She'll be telling us about how she balances being on the mic for all the major BYU sporting events, being the director of the Tony Finau Foundation, and on top of all that, being the food reporter for KSL. But first, we're going to talk about change. Change happens every day in our lives, whether we like it or not. And the same goes for some of the sports we love. But how do we feel about it? To have that discussion with me is the BYUtv sports boss, David Phillips Jr. How's it going, Jr.?
Doing well.
Well, good. It's good to have you. Good to hear your voice. And the BYU baseball season is officially over after losing to LMU in the play-in game. So sad in the WCC. But honestly, congrats to them for fighting through the adversity the second half of the season after suddenly Junior losing their head coach. And they actually improved the season on top of that. They really should be proud of what they did. It'll be interesting in the offseason for baseball to see who they pick as the next head coach. Junior, how would you describe what you saw from BYU baseball this season?
Resilient. I mean, it was amazing to see them, tough times, and immediately they went on the road to Nebraska. They split with them, they won three out of four with them, and then they had the 9-game winning streak and stuff towards the end of the season. So, I mean, they really bounced back, overcame some injuries and stuff. Really, I would just say resilient. Fun to watch. It's tough. A one game in baseball to determine who moves on is really, really hard.
So I want to ask you about that. So the WCC tournament was different this year. Usually just the top 4 teams make it to the tournament. But this year they had playoff games with 6 teams where the bottom 4 teams played to see who could play the top 2 seeds. But what do you think of the tournament expansion they did this year?
I thought it was great. I think it was LMU's coach who had talked about a couple of years ago, BYU was the best team, but LMU had the best pitcher. So in a one-game thing, BYU, who was first in the league, was outed because LMU had a good pitcher. So this kind of gives the top 2 teams an extra day. They aren't facing the best pitchers from the other teams and stuff, and kind of gives them a little bit of help to move on and stuff. So I like it. I love more teams having the chance. Playoff baseball is great. So more the merrier.
It is. It's fun. I mean, ideally there's a series, right? Because I don't know. It is hard. It is hard being eliminated after one game, but it does make it go by a little quicker. And unfortunately, as fans, that's what we like. We like quick pace. And Junior, there aren't just changes happening at college level of baseball, but a lot has changed for the MLB this year. And I know you're a big baseball guy, so let me know what you think of these changes. A few of them in the MLB starting this year. So the National League will adopt the designated hitter. And I like that both leagues will be equal now, but what do you think of that rule?
No, I like it too. And it was always fun to watch pitchers hit, the strategy behind that, pitching changes and stuff. But honestly, it's fun to watch the 9 best hitters go out each day for each team. So I don't know, as like the purist part of me is like, oh no, change. But then it makes it even when the NL and AL play. So I'm all for it. I think it's fun. It's still good.
So for the 2023 season, pitch clocks will be used. What do you think about that?
I kind of like it. I actually went and watched a Bees game, and they have the pitch clock. And it didn't seem to affect the pitchers too much, probably because they were used to it by this point. There may be a little bit of headache with it, but I think it's going to be fine. Just keep it moving.
Maybe it's just me, but I get like focused on the pitch clock. It's almost more stressful to watch, because baseball is usually just a nice, relaxed, laid-back game, which it still is. But the pitch clock adds a little bit more stress. All right, this one is really interesting. An automatic ball strike zone will exist. So, I mean, are we removing the home plate umpire? How's that going to work?
So what they've done in minor leagues and stuff with that, but there's an umpire who's kind of enforcing it. He gets the call and makes the call. He'll still be there, plays at the plate and stuff like that. But I've seen videos of where it didn't work very well, where it was like a clear ball, but it got called a strike.
Yeah.
I kind of think it's good because unfortunately, like if an umpire's name, like Jerry West or Angel Hernandez, it's because they try to make it about them. And they're famous for having just terrible calls and stuff like that, inconsistencies in the strike zone. And that can be frustrating, especially for a hitter when they're calling the ball low all the time and then they stop. And so it kind of takes that human element out of it, but technology is not perfect, and you're going to get some that kind of go the other way.
I bet they'll get to a point where it's probably extremely accurate, once they start using it and tweaking it a little bit, and it'll be a good thing. It'll be really interesting to watch where the umpire stands, like what happens to him. Obviously, he has to make calls at home plate, but that will be really interesting. Another one is they're going to start using larger bases, and I think this is for safety reasons for the players. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, and I'm not sure how much larger, but what do you think of that one?
That one, I think it's fine because, yeah, you get colliding, stepping on ankles when you get close plays to first, when people are running together and collisions and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to make too big a deal with a little bit extra base. So, hey, if it makes it safer, let's do it.
Baseball, when you watch baseball, it's just very pristine. Everything just looks really clean, really traditional. And now there's going to be advertising and patches on jerseys and decal on batting helmets. What do you think of that?
I don't like it as much. I mean, it's fun to have the logo of the teams and stuff like that. It'd be weird to see like Yankee pinstripes with a
Yeah.
logo on it. And I understand, obviously, soccer's been doing it for a while, and basketball has started doing it. I'm sure football will eventually get there. There's something about it. I mean, it doesn't affect a ton of things, but I don't want to buy a jersey that has
Yeah.
a company's logo on it. I want the
Totally.
clean, pure of that. So, yeah, I wish they wouldn't do it.
All right, the last notable one that I have is the 2023 schedule will be more balanced as teams will play at least one series against every opponent in both leagues. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. With being able to play against all the different teams, having your team go to all the different stadiums and stuff. Because if you're a National League fan, but you want to go and watch your team play at Fenway or Camden Yards or some of these, I think it's kind of cool. And, it kind of evens it out. Every ballpark is unique. That's what's kind of fun is basketball. The regulations are all the same. Football, they're all the same. Hockey, they're all the same. Soccer, they're all the same. You get to these ballparks and they're all unique. You've got the Green Monster. You've got the short porch and right in Yankee Stadium. It's kind of cool. And to be able to kind of experience as a fan all of those different ballparks is fun.
Absolutely. I love that perspective. I think that will be a really fun thing for fans and honestly for the players as well to be able to experience all that. And I know a lot of these changes are to make the game better for viewers. They're adapting to the changing generations. But should a sport change just so we can be instantly gratified? I feel like that's kind of what's happening. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They're trying to keep it moving, try to keep fans interested and stuff. So, it's fine. Sometimes change is good. It was interesting. I saw someone post this kind of opening to CBS's football coverage from the 70s, and like the videos that they were showing of the highlights, I think like 90% of them were illegal in the game today. Guys getting clotheslined and these illegal hits and stuff like that. And so sometimes these changes, especially for player safety, are great. And so sometimes you got to adapt and change and move some things and kind of keep the game exciting.
Yes, I think it's just how it needs to be. Things change in every society year to year. Technology changes, culture changes, and the importance of player safety has increased over the past few years. Like you mentioned, NFL implemented a bunch of safety rules, which are obviously good for the sport and mostly for the players. But, Junior, here's what I want to know from you. What is the one rule change you'd like to see most in sports that hasn't happened yet?
All right. In college football, the down by contact. So in college football, as soon as a player goes down, even if they're not touched, play is over. In the NFL, they can, until they're touched down, they can get up and go. And I think that this would allow for more exciting plays, more, someone makes a diving catch when they're all alone. You should be able to get up and keep running and stuff like that. So I wish that one would change.
I like that one. Sometimes players just trip and fall and then they're down. And it's so unfortunate because, nobody was even by them. So it would have been fun to see what happened after that. I think that would be really cool to see change. Mine is the NFL overtime rule, Junior. And I know
so
I know
bad.
everybody. I know probably, I don't know, 99% of NFL fans agree with me. Especially if you're fans of the Buffalo Bills from last year, right? Playing the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just such a hard thing to watch just one team get the opportunity to score in overtime after an incredible game. And it's one of those things they maybe they don't want the game to go on for hours and hours and hours. I don't know the reason for it, but I think that is the one that definitely needs to change. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be able to have each team have an opportunity to do it, and I think you just play until there's a winner. Give each team a chance. If one team goes down and scores, the other team has a chance to match. If they don't, awesome, it's over. But
Right.
I still think you got to do it. Each team gets a chance.
I agree because you always wonder what if. But yes, lots of changes in life, Junior. And I appreciate you coming on with me. You were phenomenal as always, my friend.
Thank you. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun to talk about some of these things.
Absolutely. All right, coming up, she's the girl behind the mic, hyping you up for all of your favorite BYU sporting events. And that's just the beginning of what she can do. Chelsea Fairbourn up next on Cougar Tailgate. Welcome back to Cougar Tailgate. I'm Lauren McClain. She's the hype girl for all major BYU sporting events. She may even helped you win $1,000 at one point in a half-court shooting contest. She's also the director of the Tony Finau Foundation and the food reporter for KSL. Let's welcome on my good friend, Chelsea Fairbourn. How's it going, Chelsea?
So good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to talk to you because you seriously do it all. And I want to know, to start off, how did you get into each of your jobs, starting with the director of the Tony Finau Foundation? How did that begin for you?
So that stemmed from a BYU sports marketing internship that I did all through school. So it was my boss, David Almadova, that when it was around time for me to graduate, he approached me and said, "Hey, I have this random request that came in from someone on Tony Finau's team. He's this golfer on the PGA Tour. Are you interested in working in golf at all?" And I was like, "I know nothing about golf, but yeah, sure." And next thing you know, I had a little powwow with Tony's team, and then the rest is kind of history. I was hired within the next week and went from there.
Oh my gosh. And I'm sure you know a lot more about golf now. How many years have you been doing that?
I've been working with Tony for about 6.5 years. And yeah, my golf knowledge has increased exponentially, probably more so than anybody should ever know about golf, but we're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is Tony Finau like? Because I have to tell you, uh, us here in Utah, he's like, so when my dad is watching the PGA Tour or any golf tournament, he's watching Tony as if it's like his own son, just because he's
Yes.
kind of a great representative of Utah. So, we all feel like we know Tony a little bit, but what's he actually like?
Honestly, that's pretty accurate. He's very humble, very down to earth, wicked sense of humor. He's an excellent troll and jokester too. Like he loves a good prank, which is awesome until you're on the receiving end of the prank. But he's just an overall good guy that's really passionate about what he's doing on and off the golf course. A family guy. He's got 5 kids that keep him busy and humble too. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, there's so many different personality traits that I really appreciate about him, but I think kind of the hallmark is that he doesn't take anything too seriously. He has his priorities in line, and what you see is what you get. He's pretty true to what you see on TV.
I love that. And you have a huge job as the director of the Tony Finau Foundation. That's the director. Like that's huge.
I,
So what's been your
yeah,
favorite part about working with the foundation?
I think it's a couple of things. It satisfies my love of sports. I'm still around sports, but I'm around sports in a meaningful way, and so I
Yeah.
get to work with Tony and pick where we allocate our funds, what projects we work on, and how he's giving back and making an impact. And I've always loved purpose-driven work. I think that, I love doing things that are fun. I love being a hype girl. I love doing all the different things that I do. But when it comes down to the end of the day, I love being a part of something that makes a difference and that makes something a little bit better and brighter for people in need. And that's something that I get to do with Tony on a daily basis when it comes to the foundation. So there's a lot of different initiatives that play into that, but overall the purpose-driven work is really, really cool.
So cool. And you just make the world a better and brighter place by being who you are. And I mean that you're just a beautiful person. So I love that
Well,
you get to do all these things.
that is so nice of you to say. I'll just wipe away my tears right now. That's so nice of you.
Hey, it's the truth. I only speak the truth. All right. So one of your other jobs, my goodness, is so this is how I met you. So I've known you for years because I would sideline report the sporting events, and you were on the mic for them. How did you get into that job specifically for all the major sporting events?
So that stems from BYU sports marketing too. And when I was in school, like I said, that was my job. So I did all of the behind the scenes work, and then I was a broadcasting student. So was getting the formal training for like to be a reporter. I thought I wanted to be a sideline reporter at some point. And so I kind of was going that direction as far as schooling was concerned. And then when it came time for me to graduate in that final year, I started filling in on the mic for whoever was doing it at that point. And then from there, I don't want to say that I stiff armed that or that I was like, hey, put me on. But I said, hey, like I would be interested if ... And so when I graduated, they decided, hey, like, is this something that you're really serious about? We'd love to make you our girl if that's the case. And I said, yep. And then the rest is history. And I've been doing that for 6.5 years too.
Oh my gosh, it's so dang cool. So you do football, basketball, and baseball. You just finished your very last baseball game.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was that for you? Was that sad?
I thought that I was going to be fine because I do so many sporting events and like, it's not a final, I'm still doing football and basketball, but baseball was the first. Baseball was where they said, okay, let's try you out on this mic. And baseball is so interactive and fun, and it's a smaller crowd. And so you get to know the coaches, the families, the players really well, where that doesn't necessarily happen as often at football and basketball because I'm so removed. And so it was hard kind of ending that era and saying, okay, well, I see you guys 24 times in the spring, and now I don't know when I'm going to see you, or I don't know what it's going to look like. Or so it was really sad. I shed a lot of tears going into that game, and then heckled some people on the mic one last time. And now I'll get to go and enjoy baseball as a spectator.
Well, it's not going to be the same, honestly, without you. Would you say baseball is your favorite sport to work, or which one is it?
Baseball is where I can show the most personality. Very few of the promotions that we do are actually sponsored. And so it's really fun to have that creative freedom with my delivery on the mic. And it is really interactive. It's hard to pick a favorite. I don't have kids, but I feel like it would be like, oh, pick a favorite child. Because I like all of them for different reasons. Baseball is the most engaging with fans, but then basketball, the atmosphere is incredible when you have a full Marriott Center and you have all the energy that kind of funnels down to the court. And then football, you're talking about 60,000 people and under the lights, and that's a totally different thing too. So yeah, I like all of them for different reasons, but baseball has a really soft spot in my heart.
Well, obviously, when it's a really good game, no matter which sport it is, you're going to get a little bit more interaction from the fans. So what's been your most memorable game that you've been on the mic for that comes to mind?
I think it would be BYU Gonzaga 2020 and everything leading up to that game. And then I remember anytime marketing magic mixes with like on the court magic, it's a really cool moment. And I'm totally a sports nerd in that way. And I remember everything just syncing up and coming together so well that night. And then on my end, the person that hit the half court shot shot the half court shot, hit the half court shot during that game. So it just kept building and building. And then you get to this upset win, and it's the last game of the season, this whole thing. And it was kind of, that was the building point. That was a really cool game to be on the mic for where basketball is concerned.
So dang awesome. Oh yeah. Anytime you beat Gonzaga, that's gotta be way up there. So I mean, obviously you work with Tony Finau on the reg. You've met all of the BYU bigwigs. Who is one of the coolest people you've been able to meet through your jobs?
Two people come to mind. Through Tony, and both of these are through Tony. When the very first golf tournament that I went to with Tony was the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And I grew up a huge NSYNC fan. Like I had posters all over my wall. And Justin Timberlake is a huge golf fan and was playing in the Pro-Am that year. And I accidentally met Justin Timberlake, and then he sat down at my table and had lunch with us. And I was like, I peaked in life. I'm done. I'm good. 2016 was a great year, and it hasn't really lived up to that since. I'm mostly kidding.
I can die now.
Justin Timberlake, that was so cool.
What? Wait. We're not moving on from Justin Timberlake because I have to know. How did I not know this, Chelsea? Number one. Also, what was he like?
Because I don't have a photo. So if you don't have a photo, then it didn't happen, right? Allegedly.
Happen. Yeah, totally. What was he like? What was he like? What was it like eating lunch with him?
He was so cool. And I think what told me a lot about him is he did not have to remember my name at all. Like most of the time, celebrities, you come in contact with them, they're really nice and pleasant up front. And then if you see them again, it's just, you kind of like, you're just another face in the crowd. And that tournament we were there for 5 days, and I overlapped with him a couple of times in like player dining. And he was so nice every single time and always said, "Hey, Chelsea, how you doing?" Or like, and he didn't have to remember. I was a nobody, and he remembered my name that entire weekend and was so cool anytime I interacted with him beyond that lunch. So that was it was so cool.
What? That's a dream. Okay. Who was the other person?
The other person is more recent, and it's Shay Mooney from Dan and Shay.
Okay.
And this was kind of like an accidental stumble into meeting him too, all through Tony, that I ended up at the Dan and Shay concert this past October. And I was there, some other people from our team were there. And then Tony had just been introduced to Shay a couple days prior and had golfed with him. And I think I was texting Tony and like trolling him for how many people were getting pictures with him on the floor. And then he like texted back and he was like, "Oh, wait, are you still at the concert?" This was after the concert ended. And I was like, "Oh yeah," fully lied. I was definitely on almost to I-15 leaving Salt Lake. He's like, "Okay, well come here," and like sent me these long instructions. And I have no idea what it means, but I'm like, it probably means that I'm meeting somebody. So I flipped the car around. I hightailed it back to Vivint and followed all of his directions to a T. And the next thing I know, I ended up on Shay's tour bus and hung out with him and Tony and a few other people for a while. And then that all led to Shay performing at a dinner gala that we had last month here in Utah to raise money for Tony's new learning center. So it was kind of this quick introduction, and then it's built since then. And Shay is one of the most talented people I've ever come across, and so warm, so personable. He's been a really cool person to rub shoulders with the last 6 or 7 months.
Chelsea, I'm sorry, but you can never quit your job. I don't know,
I
if
could
you're
never
ever
retire.
considering it, but no, you can never ever retire. I'm just kidding. There's a time and season for everything, but you do have a dang cool job. That's so fun.
There are plenty of moments where I'm like, I don't know what the crap I'm doing, and it feels like this imposter syndrome, right, that bubbles up. But there are some really cool things. And I think that also speaks to like Tony as a person, that he doesn't have to extend these invitations to anyone if he doesn't want to, but he's so about his team and his people, and has been very generous with the experiential side of work and the introductions that he's made.
It seems that way. What an incredible guy. And it doesn't stop there, Chelsea. Nothing goes better together than sports and food. And
truly.
You have a hand in both. How would you describe what you do as the food reporter for KSL?
Yeah, so this is a really fun role that's kind of bubbled up to the surface too over the years as a food reporter. So I work with the lifestyle show Studio 5 with Brooke Walker up for KSL. And early on in college, I did an internship in New York, and I fell in love with the food scene out there. I didn't have a kitchen, so I had to eat out almost every meal. And I just started trying all of the different things. And I really fell in love with food. I mean, it's not tough to fall in love with food, but that's how it happened. And then, so I kind of brought that back with me to Utah and just like love trying all these different places. And it became a natural fit when they needed someone to kind of fill that food beat. And I had interned with KSL all through college as well, more on the broadcasting side. And so, they said, "Hey, how about you pick a topic or two every month, and you review restaurants or you review new food products, food items to try, and we'll see how it goes." And so I've been formally doing that for 2.5, 3 years. And it's really fun, something that I didn't expect. But I can't really complain about eating a bunch of food and telling people whether or not they should try it. I think the most beneficial part of that, other than my waistline having a fun time with that assignment, is all of the most of the recommendations that I give are all local. And so meeting these restaurant owners and small business owners that are so passionate about what they do has been really cool to see. And especially over the past years, they've navigated everything, pandemic, post-pandemic. It's been really cool to see people pursuing their passion, and that their passion being food, and they're pursuing it in a different way than I am, but they meet in the middle.
Once again, you can never quit your job. Okay, so since you've tried so many foods and you've been to all these restaurants, what would you say is your guilty pleasure when it comes to food as far as local restaurants?
Oh, my guilty pleasure. It's going to sound lame because it could be justifiably healthy, but there's this restaurant up in Heber called Back 40 Ranch House Grill, and it looks so unassuming from the road, and I thought it was going to be a random little podunk bar, and it was not.
Yeah.
And they have a blood orange marmalade salmon that they serve on like a mushroom risotto. And
Ooh.
that is like comfort food to me. Anytime I need a little hug without actually getting a hug, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and eat my sorrow in this salmon. And they have a bunch of other great stuff on the menu, and I'm a salmon fiend, but it is so good. Yeah, so good. On the dessert side, there's this place in Salt Lake called Doki Doki that specializes in Japanese desserts and pastries. And that would be my guilty pleasure up there, as they do like these fluffy pancakes or taiyakis. And there's a lot of different things on the menu. You really can't go wrong, but that's dessert guilty pleasure because I have a major sweet tooth, and salmon as my kind of guilty pleasure.
Oh, I'm so hungry now. She's the hype girl for all major BYU sporting events. She is the director of the Tony Finau Foundation and the food reporter for KSL, Chelsea Fairbourn. Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on with me today, my friend. You are
Thank
amazing.
you so much.
You're amazing at everything you do. And I just love you, and I wish you the best.
Likewise. It was so much fun talking with you and catching up about all of my favorite things.
You're awesome. Thanks so much, Chelsea. And that does it for us today. Thanks again to Chelsea Fairbourn and David Phillips Jr. for coming on the show with me. You can join the Cougar Tailgate virtually, of course, every Saturday at noon Mountain Time, or download, rate, and review our podcast on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYUradio.org. This is Cougar Tailgate.